Do you have money anxieties? Do you struggle with worries about money and whether or not you can retire, or savings anxieties? Do you worry where every dollar is going to go, or do you put your head in the sand and avoid statements and bill payments as they come through the mail? You're definitely not alone. Money anxieties and money worries are a very palpable thing. I'm Elizabeth Prindle. I'm a certified financial planner. I don't have a background in psychology, so this is a little bit more pop psych that I will be addressing today. But I do have my own background and my own money anxieties and my own money worries. And having worked with hundreds of families in terms of preparing them for retirement, going through and actually retiring, being on the other end of retirement successfully, as well as building their retirement assets when they're simultaneously building either their careers, lives, or families. I have seen that money anxieties, you'll be surprised to know, in many situations, they carry on. So even though the numbers change, right? Oh, we no longer are financially strapped. We no longer have to worry where every dollar is going to come from, where every dollar goes, and how every dollar is spent. So even when the math equation side of financial independence is solved for, whether being on track, overly so in many cases, or successfully retired and my assets are just growing, money anxieties still rear their head. And so if you can develop some habits and behaviors before then, while you address your finances, there can be, 5 steps to managing money anxieties before you've solved for them. So what does money anxiety feel like? I wrote a couple things down. Like you're in a boat that's sinking in the middle of nowhere, and all you have is either a small bucket or spoon to try to remove water from the boat, right? Somewhere there's just so many holes in the boat, and no matter your efforts, it's going to go down, and there's no one there to save you. That's one example. For women in particular, there's this bag lady phenomenon where you're going to die broke alone. So you have to save everything. You can't part with any possession, particularly like reusable, perfectly good bags, plastic bags. I don't know, there's these imageries there. In a Van Down by a River is an SNL skit, but also has some like themes about that, which van life seems to have flipped its head on. And money anxieties and worries also feel a simultaneous feeling that every penny earned and spent matters, and also that any penny saved and efforts to earn or track spending don't matter. So it's like everything matters, and yet it doesn't matter at the same time. So it's an interesting dichotomy. In fact, when I look at money anxieties and worries, there are lots of dichotomies, or, two different lenses. Oh, hi, Finn. Hi, Pup. This is my dog. Should we see him cameo? I know. Everybody wants to see the handsome pup. Okay. Thank you. Go on. So step one to working towards managing money anxieties. I think the first one is just a locus of control, which means focus on what you personally can control. And why this is important is because there's families, right? We're the family of origins. There's roommates, there's marriages and partnerships, people around us, friends. And, all these are already part of our ecosystem. But in focusing on what we control, it somewhat means that we let everybody else off the hook. We can no longer blame other people. We have to take the blame ourselves, in a sense, gently. So focus on what you can control to a point. So most of the things that we can do and can control are, earning more income or selling excess items. A lot of people do. Using up whatever you have before you acquire more. No spend challenges. And tracking every penny that you earn and spend over a period of time, along with your net worth. But I want to say that this is an important step. But in terms of foreshadowing, I also want to emphasize here, to a point. Focus on what you can control to a point. And the reason why is because these strategies will work in time for the most part. For the most part, if you track your spending and you seek to earn more and you sell excess items, you use up what you have before you buy, and you frequently challenge yourself with no buy, spend challenges, similar to, like, I think the Stoics have a phrase like once a month, pretend that you have nothing and eat the most mildest of fare, like beans and rice, basically, and wearing the tattered clothes or whatever, or not once a month, maybe once a month, some regularity. Look it up, Google it, whatever. We have all the resources to verify this stoic reference. Just to remind yourself, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. But what I mean to say with these strategies and focusing on what you can control, in addition to yourself and your own mindsets, these strategies, you'll develop dopamine hits, meaning your body, neurologically speaking, will develop a reward system so that when you do sell excess items, or when you do go a certain amount of time without spending, or when you do track every penny spent maniacally, your brain is going to reward you with a very good feel good hormone that says, we did it, right? Like, oh, another challenge in the game completed. However, these strategies may not be a way to live in the long term, particularly if you've solved the financial independence equation or you're somewhat on track for that. So focusing on what you can control is an excellent starting point and a perfect first step, because it gives that nervous anxiety. It usually means like you need to act, you need to move. And so moving your body helps, but actually moving yourself to act and accomplish the next best thing is really important. I just want to caution people that developing that habit will get you there, but it's not what keeps you there. So keep that in mind. So step number one, focusing on what you can control. Step number two, earning more will always be important compared to saving more or protecting or perfecting your saving habit. So a perfect saver could still benefit more by earning more. If you were to get a $5,000 raise in the year, that translates to, let's just conservatively say it's half goes to taxes. So that's 24 grand. That's, $200 more a month. That can be a lot easier than saving $200 per month consistently, right? You can save 200 per month on 1 month, but can you do it 12 months in a row? That can be a challenge for a lot of people. It's a lot of small, tiny decisions over and over and over again. That's taxing on the brain and body to have that much, compared to a 6-month strategy to developing, getting to the office early or getting to your job early or reporting early, showing up early to every Zoom, staying till the end, being, managing your work, asking for opportunities for more, as well as selling the work that you have done, developing alliances with the people who determine your salary and saying, if I can benefit the business or your bottom line or your objectives in these ways, win-win, how can we also get me on track for a raise? And that's a 6 to 12 month strategy. It's the same amount of work, essentially, when we talk about the money involved, 200 more per month. But you can, and the real answer is both, right? You want to be working on strategies to save that $200 per month and also earning the $200 after tax per month. But you can be sensible about reserving your energy too, because when we learn about step one, knowing what we can focus on and control, we may exhaust ourselves too. And so as we exhaust ourselves with the saving habit and be like, even I am a classic example of someone who tracked everything for several years down to the penny. And even then it took me several months to be above spending more than I made. It's because I saved and moved savings back, but to develop any meaningful emergency fund and get past that took me several months, and I still had slip ups and whatnot. So it's important to know that earning money is as important as perfecting a savings habit, and probably has more rewards. It doesn't mean you don't choose. You don't have to choose. You still do both. Just understand that anything you do will come at a trade-off to your time and health if you're not intentional. Like, there are seasons about these things. Like, this is a saving season. This is a career season, and I can put more effort. I can do more overtime, but it isn't a place to live permanently. So I think you have to somewhat take some moments and steps back to understand it. Comes to step number 3, compassion, particularly self-compassion. And also as we are more self-compassionate with ourselves, we're not letting ourselves off the hook, but we are letting all of ourselves off the hook. We're human. We're only human. We have a common humanity. If you recognize that most of the world is, living this way financially along with you, but many are happy and don't carry unnecessary money anxieties and worries. So keep that in mind as a perspective. It's like, you may have money anxieties and money worries, but the majority of the world may live worse off than you. And they don't have those, and several of them don't have money anxiety. They're happy, basically. They're happy with enough. So having self-compassion and say, okay, so I did that in the past and now I'm here, or I made that choice, or I didn't know better. All these things are like, that's fine. And then we can have self-compassion with others in those situations. Those are great people to be accountability buddies with too. So, self-compassion is very, very, very important at this critical phase. We step one, focusing on what you can control. Step two, earning more is equally, if not more important than perfecting your savings habit. And step three is just self-compassion. There's going to be slip ups. You're still learning, or maybe you do know better and you're just human and you're going to make the same mistake again. It takes a while, right? These things take time, and you're going to keep revisiting the right habits and go forward. The fourth step is learning to enjoy the process. And this can only come after, I think, this compassion or self-compassion habit. But it's important to notice that most of the wealthiest people in the world, and even historically, we have language around romanticizing the lean and broke years. There's even a word, bohemian. Bohemian is this like the beauty, fashion, style, and trend of living hand to mouth as an artist, maybe in Paris, and just everything that how beautiful. There was a beauty of it and a sense of longing for that and recreating it. And you can only do it by living it and having just a nugget of baguette for dinner and half a teaspoon of wine. I don't know, I'm exaggerating here, but a lot of people emphasize that those lean and broke years or the bohemian times were the happiest that they've ever been, the richest in spirit and humanity sense. So in terms of enjoying the process, that is important. I just was with a mom of three, and she's married, and they had a set of financial challenges that were seemingly insurmountable and scary for where they were in life and didn't present a lot of options. And thankfully, we worked through it together as their financial planner, and they had a lot of gimmies that weren't, no way one could know what these windfalls, and not windfalls, but just strategic timeline things that happened to their favor. And she was so excited. There's a new Starbird restaurant. I don't know if you're into chicken. I don't know. I've never been, but I love a good food. And she was able to like manipulate a couple email addresses, and they all got to eat like a thing of chicken for free. And again, it's not where you live, but I think that is that's going to be a core memory for that family to have developed, is that deal, and that they all got to do it and make a trip of it. So I think there is this romanticizing the lean years. Enjoying the process can be tricky, and the reason why is because recognize that most marriages end based on money conflicts. That's not why most marriages end. It's like the second most popular reason is because conflicts due to money, whether they're real or perceived money issues. So it's important to be cognizant of that. Different values around money, fights about money, number two reason. And if you're in a partnership or marriage, and I emphasize more marriage than partnership just because there's some laws related to marriage that are different than just being in a partnership, but it's important to celebrate the wins and celebrating successful compromises and celebrating when a new strategy that feels uncomfortable, maybe to one or both partners, worked, right? So, I mean, in a sense, you have to have a goal and what you're working towards, but I think celebrating those wins are critical. And the reason why is because step number one was a locus of control. But by this point, at step number 4, enjoying the process, understanding that most people romanticize the lean broke years because they offer a certain amount of happiness that money truly can't buy in the end. But you want to start transmuting those initial locus of control dopamine hits of like, I'm going to track everything. I'm not going to spend for 30 days. We're going to high five ourselves on that discipline, and that hard work we did. But you want the new dopamine hits to be like, wow, we tried a brand new strategy collectively. We had faith in it and we executed on it. It took us about 3 or 4 failures to get there, but we've done it. And look at the impact. And you high five yourselves minimally. That needs to be where you emphasize the dopamine hits in a marriage, financially speaking. Transmuting those, like, what I as a single individual in this life and humanity can do, to my partnership and where we have been able to develop successes together. That's going to be really important because we all come with our own money blueprints from our cultural and family of origin upbringings, and as well as mistakes we've made in life and just messages we've received and things we want to do different or the same as those messages. And so in a marriage, it's very rare that you share all the same financial values. I've seen it, but I think even within marriages, people have differences, even under the best of circumstances. So it can't be celebrating only your discipline, only your best habits. It has to be collectively. And it can extend to your children too, and whoever else you're working with this on, right? But start as local as possible yourself, then your partnership or marriage, and then extending to your children or family you live with, and so on and so forth. So, step one is the locus of control. What can I do today? Today, I can choose to eat from the kitchen instead of eating out. Today, I can choose to write down everything that I spent. Today, I can try a new tracking system. Today, I can do those things. Tomorrow, I can set up a plan or create a Google slide deck on, where I've been with my job and what are the strategies I can start to implement to work my way towards asking for a raise, whether I just ask outright or set up a plan for it. 3, having self-compassion. Most of the world lives this way, either with or without anxieties. So take that for what it's worth. And then this enjoying the process and resetting those dopamine hits. And you're probably going to live there for a long time, the enjoy the process step. And the last one is kind of integrated all throughout. It's not really a step that is at the end. It's not number 5. It can happen all along the way, but learning financial planning. Obviously, I'm biased because I live in this and I do it as a job and personally. Financial planning, some important things to recognize about this step is that it's just going to be a snapshot. It's one moment of your data in time. It's not a prescription. For several years, I'm really good with money. My financial plan outlook was not positive. I mean, it was positive in the 0 to 100% phase, but it was not above 50% probability of success. There are seasons in life. This is not a prescription. What's important is to go from 30% probability of success to 40 the next time, or if it dropped, understand why and what you can do different to further increase it. Finding out what it takes to retire, even if you do have a low certainty of success. Is it lowering your spend in retirement to less than what you spend now? Is it moving? What are the variables, particularly if you're working with a professional or if you have, reading about it, is if I can't retire, what would it take to retire? And then working backwards to the small sustainable baby steps. That's the locus of control, the what can I do today to make a difference? So is it that you need to be saving more to get there? Then save more. I don't know how you can particularly, unless we talk one-on-one, but anything you can strive to do to save more. Celebrating progress, right? So a little bit of this is a blend of that, celebrating the wins, enjoying the process, but celebrating your progress. If your probability goes up, great. Even if it is a lump sum event outside of your control, I say still high five for that. Because that's, you'd only be planned and ready and able to receive that moment if you had done the work. And then proactively anticipating some setbacks, like what were your failures in the past and how can you start working with those to understand maybe how to prevent them or what you might do different and start doing different when those can and do happen. This is a very common one. I can give a perfect example, anticipating setbacks. People who want to pay off debt with like debt snowball or debt strategies, oftentimes they're like 1,000 a month. I can put 5,000 a month this month on my debt. I oftentimes say, hey, why don't you keep your minimum payments, which is collectively $1,000. And if you do have more money one month, put 1,000 into savings instead of the 5,000 and put 1,000 on your highest interest or highest balance, depending on how your strategy is working to pay off debt. And I say that because there will be months where you have not $5,000 to put on debt. So unless you're regularly experiencing $5,000 a month to put on debt, 1 month, because the clients that I see who do aggressively pay down debt in 1 month, because they're so excited about their progress and they want to see that balance at 0, when they kind of take it too far 1 month with their payments, the next month it can be pretty demoralizing and they might barely have enough just for the minimum payments. So better to say minimally, I'm going to commit to my minimum payments. And then there's one card, either the highest balance, the lowest balance, the highest interest rate mathematically, I'm going to put a little bit more towards. It's not enough to say I'm going to put a little bit more towards. I'm going to consistently every month put X amount on that. So $200 a month more on that balance. And if you do have a windfall, seek to save it and segment it off as far away as you can. But you can pull from that here and there to be paying that off. Dave Ramsey has really good steps on that, baby steps. I'd suggest taking a look at those when it comes to an emergency fund starter at $1,000 and paying down debt with different snowball strategies. So I see that a lot in terms of anticipating some setbacks. Whenever I have a debt payoff client who is aggressively saying, no, I have the money, I just paid off all the cards. Invariably in the next 30 to 60 days, they have balances accrued again. So that's why it's a really important step. So that's all falling under, learning financial planning. And that's going to be integrated at each level and each stage of the steps. So where are we at? Focusing on what you can control to a point. Earning more will always be as important as perfecting your savings habit. Having some self-compassion, right? I mean, a lot of this is forgive yourself. Understand that you did the best you could, and now you want to seek out new ways, which might feel uncomfortable to do different. Enjoying the process. So that means you've developed dopamine hits, reward systems. It used to be a dopamine hit to put the bank statements and credit card statements in the drawer and not dealing with it for that moment. It's like relief. I don't have to worry about that. Then it's, okay, I'm going to do a no buy challenge for 30 days. I did it. This time I did it. It took me 6 months to not spend for 30 days, but I did it. That's a new dopamine hit. The next is enjoying the process. Like, oh, okay, we've optimized our incomes and salaries. We're on plans to understand how we're going to continue to either get new jobs or increase our salaries. We have a savings habit that it's not perfect, but we continue to work on it. And we're tracking our spending, enjoying that, celebrating the small victories. Then the last one is learning financial planning, which is integrated into every step. I have some videos, which I'll link, where most people learn about financial planning. Don't underestimate the free resources if you are broke or in debt. Any place you can go to. Call your banks, call your credit unions, call your credit cards. I know Capital One has a free relationship with a course for the basics of financial planning, or at least financial basics. Go to your libraries. The libraries are an excellent resource, either the reference section or start looking at books. I can go on and on about this. If you have an employer that has an employee assistance program, EAP, they may have financial coaching or at least therapy that can be financially related to go ahead and tackle for pretty affordable or no cost initial rates. Let's see. Asking around can be tricky. Anyways, I'll link the video, which you can watch, about where people find financial planning tips and strategies besides working with and paying a professional. And even if you do, where do you find a professional and how do you start working with them? Because even I've worked with clients at step one, right? They don't even realize they can make a difference. And coming to me is the first step. I have to be very mindful of that because I don't want them to pay me a fee. I'd rather than pay their debt, for instance, and I work with them. We find a way to make that happen, meaning I gatekeep my services, right? Don't pay me until you've done X, Y, and Z. Then let's meet and let's get to the next level together. So that's it. Money anxiety feels awful, and it feels like it'll never end, and it's only getting worse, and there's desperation. So, what's not mentioned in terms of self-compassion is that there's lots of habits to take a deep breath, grab a glass of water, choose to eat the next healthier thing, or skip a snack if you're overeating, going for a walk, which is reasonably free for most, or even pacing around your house if you can't leave because you have a baby you're taking care of. I don't know, but finding, any healthy salve to financial anxieties and worries are important. They're important when you're by yourself as your own economic unit, and they're important in partnerships, marriages, and families. And there are steps you can take to better manage these. But do know, if you do feel anxious about money and worried about money, that exists at all income levels and all levels of wealth. So the same money anxieties I see in people who are retired with investments they never touch just because they're too scared of running out of money, even though they will never mathematically run out of money. I also see at the bottom end of the spectrum where people have hundreds of thousands of debt and they wake up happy every day. So keep that in mind. No, my earbud. Hold on. Keep all of these elements in mind as you're going. I hope these steps help. It's not a picnic. I myself battle with these all the time. Sometimes you just need a pity party. Try it out. Talk to somebody. Try not to do it alone, even though we can have a locus of control and focus on what you can control. Reaching out and just even if you don't have anybody, if you have a religious practice or meditation, let the feelings out too about how desperate it feels. Even if you are wealthy, if you have money anxieties and worries, like be honest and let them out, even if it's in a private moment or journaling, crying, ugly cry, definitely do it and take a look at these 5 steps and see how you can integrate it. So, what are you going to do today in terms of addressing that first step, focusing on what you can control? I know today I'm going to take a deep breath and say, I'm better off today than I've ever been, financially speaking. And I've handled very big financial setbacks, and I could do it again if I needed to. And what I know today is everything that's led up to this point has led me to here. And half the world may not live as comfortably as I can, and I can have some gratitude for that. So, and I can high five my husband for the hard work that we've done together. So, this is a daily struggle. You're not going to get it every day, but surely, we can all do this together. Good luck.